Let's start with something most people have never said to you honestly. You're not bad at English. You're not slow. You're not untalented. You're trapped. Not by the language, but by the role you've been playing for years without realizing it.
A role?
Yes, the role of the learner. And before you disagree, let me explain why this role is quietly destroying your ability to speak.
I thought being a learner was a good thing.
It is, at the beginning, but most people never leave it, and that's where the damage starts.
What kind of damage?
Psychological damage. Because when you see yourself as the learner, you also see yourself as someone who is not ready, someone who is not finished, someone who should listen more than speak.
That sounds familiar.
It should. That mindset trains you to wait.
Wait for what?
For permission. Permission to speak. Permission to be taken seriously. Permission to make mistakes without shame.
So I'm waiting for a moment that never comes?
Exactly. Because no one ever tells you there is no graduation day for speaking. There is no final lesson, no magic level, no internal switch that flips and says, now you are allowed to talk.
But I still feel like I need to be more prepared.
That feeling is not preparation. It's conditioning. You've been trained to believe that speaking is a reward, something you earn after enough study.
And that belief keeps me quiet.
It keeps you obedient. Obedient to rules, obedient to correctness, obedient to the idea that silence is safer than expression.
That sounds harsh.
It is, but it's accurate. Because look at what happens in your head. You don't think, I want to say something. You think, can I say this correctly?
And if I'm not sure, I stop.
Yes. You censor yourself before anyone else can.
So I become my own strict teacher.
Worse, you become your own examiner. Every sentence is a test. Every word is evaluated. Every pause feels like failure.
That's exhausting.
And unsustainable. Human beings are not designed to communicate under constant evaluation.
Then why does it feel normal to me?
Because you've lived in it for years. School, courses, apps, videos, all of them reinforce the same identity. You are not a speaker yet.
So even when I speak, I don't feel like a speaker?
Exactly. You speak, but internally you're still asking for approval.
Approval from whom?
From an invisible authority. Teachers you had, native speakers you imagine, an ideal version of yourself that never makes mistakes.
That authority is always watching.
In your head, yes. And it creates a dangerous loop. You study more to feel worthy, but the more you study, the higher the standard becomes.
So the finish line keeps moving.
Always. Which means you stay a learner forever.
That explains why people say, I've been learning English for 10 years.
Exactly. Notice they don't say, I've been speaking English for 10 years. They say, I'm still learning.
So language becomes something external.
Yes. Something you chase, not something you own.
That makes speaking feel like trespassing.
That's a perfect word. Trespassing. like you're entering a space you don't belong in yet.
And that creates tension the moment I open my mouth.
Because your body feels it. Your shoulders tighten. Your breathing changes. Your voice gets smaller. Not because you lack English, but because you feel out of place.
So speaking is not just output.
It's a statement. A statement that says, I belong here. And if you don't believe that internally, your body resists.
That resistance feels like fear.
Yes. Fear of exposure. Fear of being corrected. Fear of being reminded that you're still learning.
So how do people break out of that role?
Slowly, uncomfortably, and deliberately. But before we talk about how, we need to expose something even more dangerous.
What's that?
The hidden benefits of staying a learner. Because part of you doesn't want to leave that role.
Why would I want to stay stuck?
Because the learner role protects you from responsibility. And in the next part, we're going to talk about why staying a learner feels safe and why that safety is costing you your voice. Let's be honest about something most people don't want to admit. Staying a learner feels safe.
Safe from what?
From responsibility. As long as you're a learner, you're not expected to perform.
So mistakes don't count.
Exactly. When you're a learner, mistakes are part of the process. People forgive them. You forgive them.
But when you speak,
You feel exposed. Because speaking feels like claiming ownership. It says, this is mine now.
and ownership raises the stakes.
Yes. Ownership invites judgment. Ownership invites comparison. Ownership invites consequences.
So the learner role protects me from all that.
It protects your ego. As a learner, you can always say, I'm still improving. I'm not there yet. I need more time. Those sentences act like armor
Armor against failure.
against visibility. Because failure only hurts when you've claimed the role of a speaker.
So if I never fully claim it,
You never fully risk it, and that feels intelligent.
but something still feels wrong.
Because safety has a cost, and the cost is stagnation.
So I stay comfortable but frustrated.
Yes, you feel busy, you feel productive, but deep down, you feel unfinished.
That feeling never goes away.
Because your identity is split. Part of you wants to express, another part wants to hide, and hiding wins more often.
So learning becomes avoidance.
Learning becomes preparation without execution. You collect tools you never use.
That explains why people know so much but say so little.
Exactly. Knowledge without ownership creates anxiety.
Why anxiety?
Because every piece of knowledge becomes a standard you haven't met yet. You know what good English sounds like, but you don't sound like that. So every time you speak, you feel the gap.
And the gap feels embarrassing.
Because embarrassment comes from contrast between who you are and who you think you should be.
So the more I learn, the worse that contrast feels.
If you don't speak, yes. Learning without speaking raises expectations without releasing pressure.
That explains why advanced learners often feel worse than beginners.
Beginners don't expect much from themselves. Advanced learners expect everything.
So the learner role turns toxic at some point.
Yes, it stops being a bridge and becomes a shelter, a place you hide instead of crossing.
So, what does leaving the learner role mean?
It means something very uncomfortable. You stop waiting for permission
Permission from whom?
from the imaginary authority in your head, the teacher, the native speaker, the perfect version of you.
That authority feels very real.
Because it's internalized, you absorbed it over years. Grades, corrections, red marks, silence after mistakes.
So, my body learned to associate speaking with danger.
Yes, and your mind learned to associate learning with safety.
So, the roles are reversed.
Exactly. Learning feels safe, speaking feels risky, but fluency lives on the risky side.
So, staying a learner keeps me protected but unheard.
You stay invisible.
That's painful.
It is, because language is not just a skill, it's presence.
So, when I don't speak, I disappear a little.
Yes, in meetings, in relationships, in opportunities. You are physically there, but psychologically absent.
And over time, that hurts confidence.
Deeply, because confidence grows from contribution.
So, the learner role feels safe, but it slowly erodes self respect.
That's the trade-off. Short-term safety, long-term regret.
That's a heavy price.
And yet, millions of people pay it without realizing it. They think they're being patient. They think they're being realistic.
But they're actually avoiding a decision.
Yes, the decision to step into discomfort, not recklessly, not dramatically, but consistently.
So, what's the first crock in that shelter?
Before we answer that, we need to confront another illusion, the belief that fluent speakers were born confident.
They weren't?
Not even close. And in the next part, we're going to dismantle that myth completely. There's a story almost every English learner believes. A story that sounds harmless, even motivating. Some people are just naturally confident speakers.
I've always believed that.
Most people do. And that belief quietly destroys effort.
Why?
Because once you believe confidence is natural, your lack of it feels permanent. You stop seeing speaking as a skill. You start seeing it as a personality trait.
So I tell myself, that's just not me.
Exactly. And that sentence ends growth instantly.
But some people really do seem fearless.
They seem fearless because you're only seeing the result, not the process. Confidence hides its scars very well.
What kind of scars?
Embarrassment, awkward silences, being misunderstood, being corrected publicly, sounding ridiculous. Things they survived, not things they avoided.
So confidence is built on exposure?
Yes, but here's the part nobody tells you. The people you think are naturally confident were often the most uncomfortable at the beginning.
That feels hard to imagine.
Because we rewrite our own past. Once something feels normal, we forget how unnatural it once felt.
So I tell myself, that's just not me.
Exactly. And that sentence ends growth instantly.
But some people really do seem fearless.
They seem fearless because you're only seeing the result, not the process. Confidence hides its scars very well.
What kind of scars?
embarrassment, awkward silences, being misunderstood, being corrected publicly, sounding ridiculous. Things they survived, not things they avoided.
So confidence is built on exposure?
Yes, but here's the part nobody tells you. The people you think are naturally confident were often the most uncomfortable at the beginning.
That feels hard to imagine.
Because we rewrite our own past. Once something feels normal, we forget how unnatural it once felt.
So they forget their fear.
Or they downplay it. They say, I was never that scared. I just went for it. But that's memory protecting ego.
So even fluent speakers protect their image?
Of course, everyone does. But here's a more dangerous illusion. You think confident speakers don't care what others think.
Don't they?
They care. They just decided that caring would not control them.
That's a big difference.
Huge. Confidence is not numbness, it's prioritization.
Prioritization of what?
Of expression over impression. They care more about saying something than about how they look while saying it.
So they choose meaning over image.
Yes, and that choice is trained, not inherited.
Then why do I feel like my fear is stronger?
Because you've trained fear longer than you've trained speech. Years of staying silent, years of waiting, years of monitoring yourself.
So fear has more practice.
Exactly. Fear is experienced, speaking is imagined.
That imbalance makes confidence feel impossible.
But it's not impossible. It's just untrained.
So when I compare myself to confident speakers,
You're comparing your untrained courage to their trained courage. That comparison is unfair
but my brain still makes it.
because your brain loves shortcuts. Labeling someone as naturally confident saves you from trying.
Because if it's natural, I can't change it.
Exactly. It removes responsibility, and responsibility is uncomfortable.
So this belief protects me from discomfort.
Yes, but it also protects you from growth.
So what should I believe instead?
Believe this. Every confident speaker was once an uncomfortable speaker who spoke anyway.
That feels more realistic.
It's not just realistic, it's observable. Confidence follows repetition, not talent.
So the question is not, why aren't I confident?
The question is, how many uncomfortable repetitions have I avoided?
That question hurts.
It should, because it returns agency to you.
Agency is scary.
But it's the only place where change lives.
So confidence is not a personality upgrade.
It's a byproduct of exposure. You don't become confident and then speak. You speak, survive, and confidence adjusts.
That reverses the usual advice.
Most advice is backwards because it's given by people who already forgot the early stages.
So what keeps learners stuck believing the myth?
Two things: social comparison and selective visibility.
Explain that.
You see confident speakers speak. You don't see them hesitate. You see fluent sentences. You don't see internal doubt.
So I assume fear is gone.
But fear rarely disappears. It just becomes quieter.
So waiting for fear to disappear is pointless.
Yes. If you wait for fear to leave, you'll wait forever.
So what's the real marker of progress?
Not confidence, willingness. The willingness to speak even when fear is present.
That sounds doable.
It is, but it requires abandoning another illusion.
Which one?
The illusion that speaking must feel good to be good for you.
So discomfort doesn't mean failure.
Discomfort often means alignment with growth.
That changes how I interpret anxiety.
Good, because in the next part, we're going to talk about something that scares learners even more than mistakes: sounding stupid.
That's my biggest fear.
And it's the last major wall between you and fluent speech. Let's talk about the fear you almost never admit out loud. Not the fear of making mistakes, not the fear of bad grammar, the fear of sounding stupid.
That's exactly it.
And notice how different that is. Being wrong is about information. Sounding stupid is about identity.
So it feels personal.
Very personal. Because when you sound stupid, you don't just feel incorrect. You feel diminished.
Like people see me differently.
Yes. Like your status drops. Like your intelligence is questioned. Like your past achievements suddenly don't matter.
That fear is paralyzing.
Because it threatens something deep, your self-respect.
So even small mistakes feel dangerous.
Exactly. You're not afraid of the mistake itself. You're afraid of the meaning you attach to it.
The meaning being.
If I sound stupid in English, maybe I am stupid. That thought is usually unconscious, but it's powerful.
That's terrifying.
Which is why your brain does everything it can to prevent that moment. It slows you down. It overanalyzes. It tells you to wait.
So silence becomes self-defense.
Yes, silence protects your image. An image feels more important than progress.
So the smarter I am in my own language,
The harder this becomes because you have more to lose.
that explains why professionals struggle so much.
Exactly. Doctors, engineers, managers, people who are used to being competent. Speaking broken English feels like stepping down.
Like becoming a lower version of myself.
And that feeling is unbearable for many people, so they choose invisibility instead.
That sounds extreme.
It is, but it's common. They stay quiet in meetings, they avoid conversations, they let opportunities pass, all to protect one thing: their image.
But doesn't that hurt confidence over time?
Deeply, because confidence doesn't come from image, it comes from expression.
So by protecting my image, I slowly lose my confidence.
Yes, you trade short-term dignity for long-term insecurity.
That's a bad deal.
It is, but it feels logical in the moment.
So how do people get past this fear?
First, by realizing something uncomfortable. Sounding stupid is not the same as being stupid.
It doesn't feel that way.
Because your brain collapses the two. But let's be precise. When you speak English, you are expressing complex thoughts through a limited tool set. That limitation is linguistic, not intellectual.
So the problem is the tool, not the mind.
Exactly. But listeners often understand this better than you do.
Really?
Yes. Most people don't think this person is stupid. They think this person is not fluent yet.
That's a huge difference.
But your inner critic doesn't allow that nuance. It speaks in absolutes.
Like, this is embarrassing.
Or, I shouldn't be talking. Those thoughts don't come from reality. They come from fear protecting ego.
So ego again.
Always ego, not arrogance, self-image.
So what's the alternative? Just accept sounding stupid?
Not accept it, redefine it.
How?
Sounding stupid is often just sounding unfinished. And unfinished is not shameful, it's honest.
That reframes it.
And here's another truth that's hard to swallow. People who never sound stupid are usually people who never try.
So avoidance looks smart.
On the surface, but underneath it's fear in a suit.
So sounding stupid is actually a signal.
A signal that you're doing the right thing, that you're stretching beyond your comfort zone.
That's hard to internalize.
Because you were trained to equate intelligence with polish. But intelligence without expression is invisible.
So people can't see what I know.
Exactly. They can only see what you say.
So silence hides intelligence more than bad English ever could.
Yes, silence creates a blank space, and people fill blank spaces with assumptions.
That's ironic.
Very. By avoiding sounding stupid, you risk being perceived as disengaged, uninterested, or less capable.
So the strategy backfires often.
And that's the tragedy. The fear meant to protect you ends up limiting you.
So the real courage is not speaking well.
The real courage is allowing yourself to be temporarily misunderstood.
That feels like vulnerability.
It is. And vulnerability is the gateway to fluency.
So what should I do in the moment when that fear hits?
Don't ask, will I sound stupid? Ask, is staying silent helping me? That question cuts through illusion.
Because silence feels safe but costs me growth.
Exactly. And once you see that trade clearly, your decisions start to change.
So the fear doesn't disappear.
No, but it stops being the boss.
And that's enough to move forward.
Yes, because fluency doesn't require fearlessness. It requires forward motion.
So what's the next barrier?
The habit that quietly kills that motion. Overthinking every sentence.
That's me.
And that's exactly what we're unpacking next. Overthinking feels intelligent. That's why it's so dangerous.
I always thought overthinking meant I cared.
You do care, but caring is not the same as helping. Overthinking doesn't improve your English. It interrupts it.
It feels like I'm checking myself.
You're monitoring yourself, and constant self-monitoring breaks fluency at the source.
Why?
Because speaking is automatic. Thinking about speaking is not. The moment you step outside the flow to evaluate yourself, the flow collapses.
So I sabotage myself mid-sentence.
Yes, you start a sentence, then you listen to yourself, then you judge it, then you try to correct it, and suddenly you're stuck.
That's exactly what happens.
And here's the brutal part. You think overthinking makes you sound smarter, but it actually makes you sound less confident.
Because I pause too much?
Because your attention is divided. Half of you is speaking, the other half is watching, criticizing, adjusting. No human does anything well under constant surveillance.
So fluency requires trust.
Yes, trust in imperfect output, trust in momentum, Trust that meaning matters more than form.
But what if I say something wrong?
You will, and that's not a bug. That's the system.
That feels hard to accept.
Because you were trained to associate mistakes with failure. But in speaking, mistakes are not failures. They are movement.
So overthinking tries to prevent mistakes.
And ends up preventing speech.
That's ironic.
Very. And here's something most learners don't realize. Overthinking is not a language habit. It's a control habit.
Control over how I appear.
Exactly. You try to control the impression you make, your accent, your grammar, your intelligence, but real communication requires letting go of control.
So the more I try to manage myself, the worse I perform.
Yes, because your brain has limited bandwidth. When you use it to judge yourself, there's less available to actually speak.
So thinking steals energy from expression.
Every time. And that's why people say, I know what I want to say, but I can't say it. The thought exists, the channel is blocked.
Blocked by self-awareness.
Too much of it. Self-awareness is useful after speaking, not during.
So reflection should come later.
Exactly. You speak first, you reflect later, not the other way around.
But my brain automatically checks.
Because it learned that habit. Habits can be retrained.
How?
By shifting your goal mid-conversation. Instead of aiming to sound correct, you aim to finish the sentence.
Finish the sentence?
Yes, completion over perfection. Once you commit to finishing, your brain stops interrupting.
That feels risky.
It is, but risk restores flow.
So fluency is not about speed.
It's about continuity, unbroken thought.
That explains why native speakers make mistakes but keep going.
Exactly. They don't stop to repair every error. They prioritize momentum.
So I should stop correcting myself mid-sentence.
Yes, mid-sentence correction kills rhythm. If something's unclear, you can clarify after.
That takes discipline.
It takes permission. Permission to sound imperfect for the sake of being understood.
So overthinking is not intelligence.
It's fear wearing intelligence as a mask.
That's uncomfortable.
Usually is, but once you see it, you can choose differently.
So the key is shifting attention.
Yes, from yourself to the message, from form to meaning.
That feels lighter.
Because it is. Language was never meant to be performed. It was meant to be used.
So when I overthink, I'm performing.
And when you perform, fear takes over. When you communicate, connection takes over.
That distinction changes everything.
Good, because in the next part, we're going to talk about something subtle that keeps overthinking alive. The belief that you must sound impressive.
That belief controls me.
And once we dismantle it, speaking becomes much simpler than you expect. There's one belief hiding underneath your overthinking. A belief so subtle that most people never question it. I need to sound impressive.
I've never said that out loud.
You don't have to. It shows up in your behavior, in the words you choose, in the sentences you abandon halfway, in the moments you decide not to speak at all.
Because I don't want to sound basic.
Exactly. You're not just trying to communicate, you're trying to perform competence.
So simple sentences feel dangerous.
Yes, because simple feels childish, simple feels exposed, simple feels like you're underrepresenting yourself.
I want people to know I'm smart.
Of course you do. That desire is human. But here's the paradox. The harder you try to sound impressive, the less you speak.
Because I raised the bar too high.
You turned every sentence into a test. Not, can I express this, but is this good enough to represent me?
And most ideas fail that test.
So they never leave your head. They die quietly.
That explains why I often think of great things to say after the conversation ends.
Because pressure blocks access. Your best thoughts don't appear under evaluation, they appear under safety.
But conversations don't feel safe.
Not when you treat them like auditions. You're auditioning for intelligence, for respect, for legitimacy.
So speaking becomes a performance review.
Yes, and performance reviews create anxiety, not fluency.
So the goal should not be sounding impressive.
No, the goal should be sounding present.
What's the difference?
Impressive is about image. Present is about engagement. Impressive asks, how do I look? Present asks, what's happening right now?
So presence pulls attention outward.
Exactly. And when your attention leaves yourself, pressure drops.
But won't people judge simple speech?
Here's the truth. Most learners resist. People don't admire complexity. They admire clarity.
Clarity feels too easy.
Because you've confused difficulty with value. But in communication, difficulty often hides insecurity.
So complex sentences can be a shield.
Yes, a shield that says, look how advanced I am. But shields block connection.
So trying to impress creates distance.
Always. Simple language invites response. Impressive language invites silence.
That's counterintuitive.
But think about it. When someone speaks simply, you feel comfortable responding. When someone speaks to impress, you feel pressure.
So simplicity lowers the social barrier.
Exactly. And lowering barriers increases participation.
Exactly. And lowering barriers increases participation.
Yes, you're protecting an image at the cost of engagement.
That's another bad trade.
It is. And here's the deeper layer. Wanting to sound impressive often comes from a fear of being underestimated.
I don't want people to think I'm less capable.
But silence guarantees that risk, because when you don't speak, people have nothing to evaluate.
So they fill the gap themselves.
Yes, and gaps are rarely filled generously.
So speaking simply is still better than not speaking.
Always, because presence beats polish.
That challenges everything I believed about communication.
Good, because most learners were trained for exams, not conversations.
Exams reward complexity.
Good, because most learners were trained for exams, not conversations.
Exams reward complexity.
Conversations reward clarity and responsiveness.
So I've been using the wrong criteria.
Yes, you judged yourself by academic standards in a social environment.
No wonder it felt wrong.
And exhausting because you were carrying unnecessary weight.
So, what should I aim for instead?
Aim to be understood, not admired. Aim to continue the exchange, not to win it.
That feels more doable.
Because it is. Fluency grows when speech feels usable, not impressive.
So, lowering the bar actually raises output.
Yes, and more output creates more data, more feedback, more adaptation.
So, simplicity accelerates learning.
Exactly. Complexity slows it down.
That's ironic.
Growth often is, and once you stop trying to impress, something interesting happens.
What?
You start enjoying conversations because you're no longer acting, you're participating.
That sounds freeing.
It is, but there's one more habit that keeps the pressure alive: comparing your English to your native intelligence.
I do that constantly.
And that's exactly what we need to talk about next. There is one sentence that quietly hurts more than any grammar mistake. I'm smarter than I sound in English.
I've said that to myself so many times.
Of course you have. Because that sentence is trying to protect something precious: your intelligence.
But it also makes me angry.
Because it highlights a gap, a painful gap between who you are internally and how you appear externally.
That gap feels humiliating.
It does. Because intelligence is not just a skill, it's part of your identity.
So when I can't express it,
It feels like you're being misrepresented, like the world is seeing a distorted version of you.
that makes me want to stay quiet even more.
Exactly. Silence becomes a way to say, this is not the real me.
So I hide until I can represent myself properly.
And that intention makes sense. But the consequence is brutal. The longer you hide, the longer the distortion lasts.
So waiting doesn't fix the gap.
It freezes it. And frozen identities don't evolve.
So my intelligence stays invisible.
Yes, because intelligence only exists socially when it's expressed.
That feels unfair.
It is. But it's also reality. People can't read your mind.
So they judge what they hear.
They judge presence, clarity, engagement, not potential.
So my inner intelligence doesn't count.
Not until it leaves your head. And here's the hardest part to accept: your English does not match your intelligence to represent you accurately.
That feels impossible.
Because you think representation must be perfect. But representation just needs to be honest.
Honest how?
Honest about limits. Honest about pauses. Honest about searching for words. Honest about imperfection.
But won't that lower how people see me?
Sometimes. But here's the paradox: trying to hide the gap usually makes the gap more obvious.
Because I hesitate too much?
Because you sound restrained. Because your energy doesn't match your intention. And people feel that mismatch.
So they sense something is off.
Yes. And uncertainty invites assumptions.
So what should I do with the gap?
You stop fighting it. You acknowledge it internally. You say, my thoughts are ahead of my language, and that's okay.
That feels like surrender.
It's not surrender. It's alignment. Alignment removes tension.
So instead of trying to sound smart,
You focus on being clear. Clarity carries intelligence better than complexity ever could.
but I still feel slower in English.
Of course you do. Speed is not intelligence. Speed is familiarity.
So slowness doesn't mean I'm less capable.
No, it means you're translating ideas through a new system. That takes time.
But listeners don't always know that.
They don't need to. You don't owe anyone a performance that matches your inner world perfectly.
That's a relief.
Because chasing that match is exhausting, and it keeps you silent.
So the goal is not perfect representation.
The goal is connection. Connection allows people to see beyond form.
So when I speak imperfectly but openly,
People sense your intention. They feel your engagement. And intelligence becomes visible through participation, not polish.
that changes how I view respect.
Respect grows from contribution, not flawless expression.
So silence actually hides intelligence more than bad English.
Always. Silence leaves nothing to interpret.
So the gap only closes by speaking through it.
Yes. Not by waiting, not by preparing forever, by letting the imperfect version of you exist publicly.
That feels vulnerable.
It is. And vulnerability is not weakness. It's how complex humans recognize each other.
So what should I tell myself when that frustration hits?
Tell yourself this: my intelligence is not on trial. My English is just in progress.
That separates who I am from how I sound.
Exactly. And that separation frees you. So, what's the final shift? The shift from asking, how do I sound, to asking, am I participating?
That feels actionable.
Because it is. And once participation becomes your metric, fluency begins to follow.
So what's left after this?
One last decision. The decision to stop waiting for the version of you that never arrives.
And start speaking as the version I am now.
Yes. And that's exactly where we're going next. Everything we talked about comes down to one uncomfortable truth. You were never stuck because you didn't know enough English. You were stuck because you kept waiting for a version of yourself that doesn't exist. The confident version, the fluent version, the version that never hesitates.
I kept thinking I'd become that version first and then start speaking.
And that belief kept you frozen because that version is not a starting point. It's a result.
So I was waiting for the outcome instead of doing the process.
Yes, and waiting felt responsible. It felt mature. It felt safe. But it quietly stole your voice.
So the real issue was not English.
It was permission. You were waiting for permission to be imperfect out loud.
Permission from myself.
Exactly. No teacher was stopping you. No rule was blocking you. It was an internal contract you never questioned.
The contract that said, don't speak until you sound right.
And that contract sounded logical, but it was based on a lie.
What lie?
that sounding right comes before speaking. In reality, sounding right comes from speaking.
So I reversed cause and effect.
Most learners do, and they stay trapped for years because of it.
So what actually changes things?
One decision, a quiet one, not dramatic, not motivational. You stop asking, "Am I ready?" and you start asking, "Am I willing?"
Willing to feel uncomfortable.
Willing to be unfinished, willing to sound worse than you know you are.
That feels like a loss.
It feels like a loss of image, but it's a gain of momentum.
And momentum changes everything.
Yes, because momentum builds evidence. Evidence that you can survive speaking. Evidence that mistakes don't destroy you. Evidence that people are more forgiving than your fear suggests.
So confidence is built on proof.
Always. Not on thinking, not on watching, not on preparing, on doing.
So the next time I hesitate,
You don't negotiate with fear. You act before fear finishes its sentence.
even if it's messy,
Especially if it's messy. Messy speech means movement. Silence means stagnation.
that reframes success completely.
Success is no longer, "Did I sound fluent?" Success becomes, "Did I speak when it was uncomfortable?"
That's a metric I can control.
Exactly. Fluency grows from controllable actions, not perfect conditions.
So fear doesn't disappear.
No, but it stops being in charge.
And that's enough.
It's more than enough. Because once you stop waiting, language stops being a wall and starts being a bridge.
So if someone is listening right now,
And they feel exposed or uncomfortable or slightly called out, that's not a bad sign.
that's recognition.
Yes, and recognition is where change begins.
So what should they do after this video?
One thing, the next time they have a chance to speak, they take it. Not confidently, not perfectly, honestly.
And that's how the loop breaks.
Quietly, repeatedly, irreversibly.
If this conversation hit closer than you expected,
Leave a comment and say which part described you best.
like the video if you want more honest conversations like this.
Subscribe if you're done waiting and ready to build real fluency through action.